Hi, Woody. Hi, Wendy. Glad to have y'all here. We'll start shortly. I'm doing a quick broadcast to the world. Hi, Ron. Glad to have you. We'll get started quick. I like the wait music too, Ron, although sometimes it gets a little loud. Okay. We are here. We are here for this next iteration of the show, Alignment, Vision, Action. And I would love to hear from you guys. Please, would love to have you up on stage. Would love to hear your comments, your questions, your concerns. This whole idea of alignment, vision, action is really about no matter what you're doing, if you are aligned, then you can really get clear on what it is you want. And then once you know what it is you want, you can actually take action because a goal without a plan is just a wish. And so this week, we had all those amazing women on my show last month for Women's History Month, and they are incredible. And some of them will probably pop in for this show too. But I really wanted to kick off kind of this next iteration and the rest of the show with that whole idea of alignment and what does it really mean to be aligned, especially because we're also talking about this week the difference between presence and power. We're talking about what does it really mean to think, and do we have time and give ourselves time to actually think about stuff before we do it? And usually the answer to that is no. We just run and do it, but we should really take much more time to think about what we're doing. So where I want to start is this, and I don't know if any of you guys have ever listened to or heard of Rashad Robinson, and he is the leader of Color of Change. He's incredible, and I happened to listen to an interview of his on NPR because, of course, I'm an NPR junkie. I listened to an interview of his with Guy Raz for How I Built This, and he's talked about, do you have presence or do you have power? And he said, it's one thing to have presence, and I do this now because we're on this platform, and I love this fireside platform, by the way. But we're on this incredible platform, and we're in this world of followers and likes and all that kind of madness that can make us a little crazy. And we think that that in and of itself wields power. And so his point is, okay, that's great if you have lots of presence. Everybody knows your name, everybody knows who you are, all that kind of stuff. But can you actually impact change? Can you actually make something happen? Because if you can't make something happen, what you have is presence, not power. And so that leads into alignment because many of us, thank you, Jenny, many of us, when we think about, presence versus power or how we show up in alignment, a lot of our challenge with showing up with our presence or with the kind of power we wield is really not being clear on who we are and where we are. And I always take my clients through this whole idea of getting grounded. So if you follow me at all outside of Fireside, my logo is a tree, and it's on purpose because one, I love trees, but two, if you think about how a tree works, there's the whole root system of the tree. And depending on how that root system works, that has a big impact on how healthy and how far the tree grows and how big the tree is. And so when I think about that root system, I think about it as that grounding, right? What are the things that really ground you? For me, it's faith, it's family, it's friends, and it's health. And that health is health with a big H, right? So financial, physical, mental, emotional, all of the health things. And so if you know what that root is, then no matter what else is going crazy around you, you can automatically go back and say, okay, something's wrong. Something must be wrong somewhere. Are all of my roots working? And so when you have a strong root system, then that builds a strong like tree, right? You begin to have this trunk that develops. You begin to have all of this really strong central structure, and then the branches come off of that. And then as the tree continues to grow, that trunk is all of the things that are innately you, right? All of the things that make you who you are. And then you begin to develop branches. And if you think about a tree, some are leaves, some are fruit, some are vegetables, right? Some are flowers, some are all of the above. And so as the tree grows, it gets bigger branches, it gets more leaves, and then that's how it delivers itself to the world. It shows up as whatever that thing is. And then through seasons, those things fall off, they fall away, they go back into the ground, but they don't just disappear. They actually, in ways, degenerate, but they go into re-nourish that tree, right? They go back into the ground, they go back to feed the root system. And so if you think about that alignment piece and alignment and vision and moving into action and presence and power, it's about how are you making sure that you are nourished so that ultimately, as you get ready to show up to the world, you are really clear on what it is that you're moving through. You're really grounded in who you are. And then as all this stuff comes at you, yeah, it's not going to be perfect. And we all have issues every once in a while. But at least we have an opportunity to say, let me just pause. Let me think about what's going on. Let me not just react. Let me really consider what's happening in my world and in my life so that I can then respond to that in a way that is not only aligned with my presence, but enables me to exert some power. He talked about do you if you we have a lot of times we give social responses or charitable responses to societal problems. He talked about delivering water bottles to Flint, Michigan when the issue is lead in the water, and the water bottle isn't going to help the issue. So how do we get to those root causes? Well, if we know where we're grounded, if we know what's really important to us, good evening, Sublime. If we know what's important to us, then we can begin to really develop answers to show up the way we want to show up, to really be powerful and not just present. So I would love to know if you guys think about, alignment and how you align to be able to show up exactly how you want to show up, when you want to show up, where you want to show up, all of you, right? You're behind the scenes, not just your highlight reel that we see everywhere. How that resonates for you when you show up. Good evening, Lewis. So glad to have you here. And jump on the stage. Feel free to invite yourself to the stage. Turn on your mic. I won't put anybody under pressure because I always try to get Woody to talk, but he is or she, because I don't want to cast dispersion. Is really quiet but always so supportive, and we love those supportive, quiet supporters too. So I really would like to know from you guys, when you think about that alignment and presence and showing up, what does that look like for you? Come on the stage, Ron. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you. And I want to first apologize. I was invited by Wendy, and I thought
Oh,
that she was
great.
hosting it. So I said earlier in the comments, I said, Wendy, thank you, Wendy. But it was actually, I meant, thank you, Laurel.
Oh, that's
So I just want to
okay.
make sure you knew that.
It's all good.
Thank you. So for me, there's one thing I remember hearing that was very interesting. Someone described that knew JFK very well.
Mm-hmm.
Said one time that he had the ability to detach from himself as if
Ah,
he were looking atop a door at himself.
mm,
And now with that comes the insight of seeing yourself as others see you.
yes.
And I have a hard time doing that.
Mm,
I have a hard time determining the weight of my presence
mm,
or the fact that what kind of effect it's having. Uh,
yeah.
but overall, I'm always conscious of what I'm doing when I'm present,
Yep.
and I try to be emotionally intelligent,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I try to project.
Yeah, I love it because that's self-awareness. One, self-awareness is not always easy. It's just not, right?
It's not.
Um, and yet, one of the things you said that was most powerful is that idea of, you know what? I'm not always there, but I work on it, right? I'm aware that I'm not as aware as I want to be because it starts with that.
Yes, it does.
It starts with that. We don't have to be perfect and immediate in the very beginning. I mean, and the other thing you said that leads to the power, and I have very rarely told this story outside of therapy, but that whole idea of power, sometimes I don't think we realize how much power we have. So you say the power of your presence, right? We don't know who's watching and who's following, and we turn around and we've got like a mob behind us ready to lift us up, and we're like, oh, wait, I was just asking questions, right?
Right. And I always hope that at the end of, I don't know what's going to happen after I die, but
Yeah.
one thing that would be fantastic is to see how my acts of kindness, how it
Yes.
rippled, how it affected everybody. I think it would be just, I would be amazed.
Mhm.
Not
Mhm.
to, not to say I'm some kind of, benefic, but I mean, I know that I believe that's true.
Yeah.
And so I think it would be pretty amazing.
I agree. What do they say? Do you really want your epitaph to say she worked really hard? Or
Oh,
do you want it to
exactly.
say, she really made an impact and she made me feel better. She made me feel better, like I mattered. Don't want
If I
that.
drop, yeah, exactly. If I drop dead today, how many people are going to say they love me? How
Yes.
many people are going to say that I love them?
Yes. And that's the whole thing about alignment when I talk to people about that is look, there is no judgment here. I am a space of no judgment because who am I? Who am I to judge anybody else? I got my
That's
own
what I say.
opinions.
That's exact. I totally agree with you.
Mhm. Mhm. Because
I mean, I
it's not okay, you know?
right. I can say when somebody has done something bad, but I don't judge them.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And, when you're talking about alignment and you're really getting to understand who you are and you're really thinking about what builds you up, what grounds you, and then what your skills are, and then what you're delivering to the world, that's why I call just about everything I do the perspective, alignment, vision, action brought by the Rutledge perspective. Because as a recovering HR person, I tell people all the time, you know what? It is a behavior that we want to address. It is not someone's character. Who are we to judge someone's character? What we're looking at is here's the behavior that I saw. Here was the impact of that behavior. That impact is not something that we want to tolerate. So let's talk about how we adjust behavior. We're not talking about how you change you as a person because, see, that's not our role.
Right. That's great. Did you emphasize in HR I statements?
I did. When you're talking about something, I was always
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, but is it you? Because that mysterious they and them, mm-mm,
Mm-hmm.
mm-mm. No. So what did you do? Where
Yeah.
is your perspective? What do you want? Really own it
Mm-hmm.
because right, wrong, or indifferent, we have to own our own behavior. I did a podcast a long time ago called You Do You. Whatever that means, you do you. Just
Yep.
understand the consequences. We all have choices, but we're not free from the consequences of the choices we make.
Exactly.
So own it. Even if the facts are contrary to your opinion, even
Right.
if they're contrary to your opinion and you've decided that's still your opinion, cool. Just own that.
But what's crazy is that we live in a world now, at least in our
Yes.
political spheres, that
Yes.
you just
Oh,
deny every. And how do you raise kids in that environment? That's what I don't
yes.
understand. But
I
it's
don't
not. It's
know.
gotten better though, of course.
Yeah, it's really tough because I still believe, I think it was Edward R. Murrow, is that who it was like you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to
Right.
your own facts. There is
Right.
still such a thing
That's
as
it.
truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is still such a
Beautiful.
thing as truth. And I see it. I see it with people I work with. I see it with my clients now. I saw it when I was in corporate. There is this, we've created so many cultures of fear that even people, when it's not aligned, when something doesn't feel right in your gut, when you just know it's not right,
Mm-hmm.
but that's the behavior that's rewarded, or that's the attitude that's rewarded, even if it feels really bad, the companies have made you think that you don't have a choice, so it's going to be hard for you to leave, or they,
Mm-hmm.
golden handcuffs, so they pay you so much money that it's going to be a big decision to make. But we get wrapped up in just doing the thing because it looks like that's the only way to get ahead. And if we're really aligned and grounded, we are able to make different decisions and still show up strong. It just takes some time. Pause and think and evaluate.
Love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
I'm
you,
so
Laura.
glad you were here. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, Jenny, and
Yeah,
feel
I
free to stay
was
on the stage if you want to. No worries.
I was gonna see if I could turn my video on. I don't see how to do
Oh, let me
that.
see. Can I do that?
I don't
I'll
know.
ask you.
Oh wait, I think I can.
Okay. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, okay.
Yay, there you are.
Um Hi.
Hi.
So talking about alignment, and first of all, Ron, I wanted to say I was really identifying with a lot of the things that you said. So thank you for sharing those. When I think about alignment, what you were saying about like when things feel out of alignment.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a harder time discerning, okay, when am I in alignment? So could you talk a
Ah.
little bit about like how you know when it's right? You know when it's wrong, but how do you know when
Yeah.
it's right?
That is such a good question because I was just having this conversation with somebody today, literally today. Um, for me, the way I tell people to realize that you're really aligned, it's kind of like that feeling of being in the zone, right? It's like it's 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 not necessarily easy, but there's a peace about it. There's like no worry, there's no stress. You're not having to necessarily force like the behavior or the response or any of that. It doesn't mean the activity that you're doing is easy, but all of the feelings around it, all of your thought processes around it are just so aligned and so in agreement with what you're doing that you really can focus the effort on trying to get the thing done as opposed to why am I doing this? Does this make sense? This is so hard. I don't understand. It's just it's this. it's this peace. I don't even know how to describe it any better. It's a real peace around, you know what? Yeah, this is what I need to do. And that alignment is even around a really tough decision you might make. Because when I decided to leave corporate, I knew it was aligned with who I was and what I needed to do, because when I finally made that decision, I wasn't angry, I wasn't upset, I wasn't crying, I wasn't emotional at all. I was just really, really clear. When you're aligned, you are clear. You are clear. And so it's a feeling of not being discombobulated, for lack of a better word, if that makes sense. Yeah. Thank you for that question. I love
Okay.
that.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. So and I'd love anybody, just, jump on up, ask to be invited, or just pop on up there. I'd love to have you on the stage. Hi, Jen. Hi, Wendy. Come on, let's see. Accept request. Hi,
Yeah.
Wendy. How are you,
Hey,
Wendy?
I'm good. Hold on. I have a habit of listening and jumping into Fireside while I'm getting ready for my own show. So I'm in the bathroom.
I get it.
But hey, it's lovely, 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 and nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
It's interesting because recently, and I was just talking to my friend today about this. I thought I had like the dream client. Like I said, I went into my husband's office and I said, I can't believe this. It's been all these years, and I really believe, I think I just landed my dream client. And for me,
Yeah.
my dream client is somebody that I can take all the way from concept to consumer, be super creative, but yet build their
Hmm.
back end and make sure everything is right. And they're going to allow me to do that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, it took 48 hours for me to realize that. Okay, wait a minute. This is the
Oh.
nightmare client.
Oh.
And oh yeah. Oh, the worst in my entire career. I
Oh
have to be honest
no.
with you. Yeah. It feels very, very uncomfortable. So I'm kind of totally out of alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And because I work from a creative space, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's difficult for me to be out of alignment. Right? You can't create
Mm-hmm.
if you're out of alignment. Um, but I really just don't know what to do. I
Yeah.
don't know how to go back in and say we got to align, or else I got to go. I feel
Yeah.
sorry for them. I want to help them. They've made every mistake they possibly could have made
Mm-hmm.
and spent every dollar they possibly could have spent.
Oh.
Typical
Y-
when the client finally gets to you, right?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and so it's just really difficult for me. So I don't know. What do you think?
That's so funny. I have a couple of clients that this happened to. So the first thing I would say is, it's not unkind to be clear. It's not unkind to be clear. And that's the first thing. The second thing is that expectations and clear expectations are really important. And so at the end of the day, um, if you're not aligned with the client, then you're not going to be able to deliver the services you want to deliver anyway. And so if you really think about that and think about kind of your soul client and how you deliver, if you're not going to be able to show up the way you want to show up, not all money is good money. And so while you really want it, it is really an opportunity for you to, as you said, to go back and say, ooh, they're a nightmare client, but are they a nightmare because they just don't know any better? And if I at least go through the conversation to have, let's just reset some expectations, because some things come up later that maybe I wasn't clear on, you weren't clear on. Let's get really clear, and then you can make a definitive decision because you've tried.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's great advice. I was kind of like, it's a situation where a couple of months of talking and figuring out if we're going to work together and all that stuff, and
Yep.
two brands that I got really excited about. I could see me really coming in and really helping them. Right, I know what
Yes.
I can do or what we want, and yet I feel as though I was betrayed almost, right?
Yeah.
Because they didn't tell me the truth about what a mess it
Yeah.
really is.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, set expectations, all that. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I
I know,
just,
I love
was
it.
like,
And I think we have a hard time, especially as women sometimes too, right? We have a hard time going back and saying, "Oh man, that wasn't what I wanted." I actually had that today. I'm like, "Wait, that's not what I understood. This is what I was expecting." And then I went back and read the contract. I'm like, "You know what? My fault. Here's what I said. Here's what I meant." But then when you sent me the contract, I just glossed over because I'm like, "Yeah, we've had this conversation before and I didn't pay attention, right? So I just knew you
yeah,
understood what I meant." Well, that was on me. So I think I highly encourage you to just go back and have that conversation and say,
Yeah.
here's some
Yeah.
things that came up, and with kindness, right? It's not
Yeah.
judgment; it's just
Of course.
fact,
Yeah.
and then
I
you get to
think,
deliver the way you want to.
yeah. And the other red flag, I mean, I've been doing what I'm doing for a very, very long time. And the other
Yeah.
red flag, honestly, is that they sent the money, but they didn't sign the contract.
Oh,
I mean, come on, people who send the money but don't sign the contract, that's the biggest red flag in business that you can ever see,
yeah,
because they feel as though
yeah,
they can manipulate you with the cash, right? With the money.
yeah, yeah.
And if money doesn't matter to them and you feel as though, hey, that's a nice chunk of money, I don't want to turn
Right?
that down, they
Yeah,
gotcha. They really got you by the
yeah.
you-know-whats.
That's one of
And
those. Yeah, run fast.
I think this is one of those.
But it's hard. But I no, I feel you. I feel you, Wendy, because it's really hard. It's really hard because you want to help, and but yeah, when your gut says no,
Yeah, that's when you tie your shoes and you start to go. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Thank
I love you,
you.
mean it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Hey, have a good show.
Thank you. Thank you. Everybody come to
You're
my show
welcome.
later.
Yeah, that is such a great question and a great great input because it is hard. I mean, and whether it's your business and its clients, or it's also, if you're leading people, if you are, a leader inside a business or you're, inside another corporation or something, man, setting those expectations and then holding people accountable to the expectation is can be difficult, but it's so important. It's not unkind to be clear. It's not unkind to be clear. And sometimes we have the hardest time just being clear because people don't know how to be candid without being ugly, which I never understood. I never understood that. You don't have to be ugly to be candid. It is, we've all got something to do. Here's the ultimate outcome we are trying to achieve. Here are the things that we believe in this moment, because we've had conversations, are the things that are going to get us there. So, how do we make sure that we are all kind of rowing in the same direction, right? Even if we're on different ends of the boat, at least if we're rowing in the same direction, we'll hopefully get to our destination. And if we're having those clear conversations, if we need to make a detour, we know when we need to make that detour, right? It's kind of like that whole presence versus power. If you're really clear, that ability to have power to influence is so much better. It's so much better. And that lack of clarity is an erosion of trust or can lead to an erosion of trust. And as they say, trust, comes in on a Greyhound and leaves on a Maserati. So you got to really spend the time up front to pause and to think through what is it that I'm wanting to do? How is this aligning with me personally? And then how is it aligning with the goals that I'm trying to achieve? And then how do I communicate that? Because if you're leading others, that alignment is about you, but it's also about aligning them and their actions to the ultimate outcome, right? How does what they do align with the goal at hand? And often when I find things falling down, it's because the communication is just it's just sucked. Nobody knows what's going on, and people are afraid to say anything because the culture has said, well, if you dissent, we find a way to punish you some kind of way. So that's a problem. That's a problem. Anyone else talking about how that aligns? Hi, Jen. So good to see you in the show. Jen helped me a lot when I was first trying to get into Fireside, so I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's uh I really want to think through as we continue on this whole path of going back to Rashad Robinson and this whole idea of presence versus power when you're thinking about alignment. The other challenge around power is this idea that having power or being powerful sometimes or somehow is a bad thing. Like you're going to be wielding power over people. And because we see so much of that, right? There's you're wielding power over people, there's something nefarious about it. And the challenge is if you're really spending the time to get aligned with who you are, what does your power look like? Sometimes your power is just you are really good at setting your boundaries. You are so introverted, right? Which that's me. I am a professional extrovert, right? I am mostly introverted. But if you are setting boundaries and that's your power because that gives you space and time and energy to be able to serve the way you want to serve, that's power. That's power and that's aligned and helping you be aligned with who you are and how you want to show up and helping you be able to serve the best way you can. But we think as of power as something bad or big or unyielding. And I think we've got to change the narrative, so to speak, because words matter. And just because you have power doesn't mean you're abusing power. And if you're leading in an organization, you've got to really be in tune to that. Hi, Ori. Thank you for joining the show. You've got to really be in tune to that power and how that power shows up, and whether or not how you're exercising your power aligns. There's this whole idea of code switching that I talk about a lot too, and it comes at different levels. But one of the challenges around that is if you think about your alignment and who you are and being able to show up completely as who you are, when people in organizations have to show up differently. And I don't mean assimilation, right? Because if it's not your company, if it's your company, you can do what you want to do. If it's not your company, if you're working for someone else, there's some level of assimilation into a culture that you have to do in order to be successful there and to handle being there. But what I'm talking about is not being able to be you. And that is not aligned. And ultimately, that is going to cause so many challenges for you. Are you going to be able to deliver the way you want to deliver? Are you going to have the energy you need to have to be able to show up and be who you are? All of that stuff starts to be a problem if you're not able to really stay in alignment, to stay in alignment with where you are. It's not easy. It's not easy to do that self work to understand what it is and that you need and who you are. As Ron was saying, it's that self awareness piece, and you don't always show up exactly, but if you kind of know, at least you know, and you can start looking at it and wondering and being aware of the feedback that you're getting. I heard today, one of my clients said today, feedback is feedback. Feedback is a gift. You may not like it, but all feedback is a gift. All feedback is a gift and something that we can learn from. Sorry, it's been a long day. So the other thing I want to talk about, and I'd love to hear you guys' perspective on this too, is this whole idea of really spending time thinking about what it is that really does ground you and align you. And what I mean by that is we talk about this thinking thing, right? And did you think about that? Why did you think that would work? What did you think would happen? Right? We use that all the time. But do we really take the time to think about what it is that really grounds us, the skills and the attributes and the unique abilities that we have, right, that we can use to serve, and then to think about how we really want to show up? And the reason I say that is because if we don't take that time, then we're just kind of always living in reactive mode. Whatever feedback we get external, then we just kind of adjust. And so our sales are constantly being moved by whatever wind is blowing. And we see that a lot in corporations. Wherever the wind blows, that's where people move, right? Those are yes people. But if you're really clean and aligned and grounded, you're moving because you want to. You're moving because you are harnessing the power of the wind as opposed to being directed by the wind. And so I'd love to hear from you guys in the audience when you think about kind of that alignment and giving yourself time to think about who you are, right, and where you are and the impact that makes. What comes up for you when you think about that kind of stuff? Because alignment is an action. Alignment is an action. Alignment doesn't happen because you want to be aligned. Alignment takes action. Alignment takes action. Everybody's quiet tonight. Well, because I can keep talking for sure. I'm good at that. I'm good at talking a lot. So oh yes. Come on back, Ron.
Hi.
Hi.
So yeah, you described something about the harnessing the wind. I remember there was an interview with Oprah, and
Mm-hmm.
she said that it was around the time that she got the role for The Color Purple, I think.
Yes.
And that was when she said she felt like instead of going against the current, it was suddenly like she was swimming with it. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of us are trying to reach that stage, or some of people in here listening have reached
Mm-hmm.
that stage. I don't think I've fully reached that stage yet,
Yeah.
but you're right. You have to make a conscious effort to be in alignment.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm describing it the right way or what you're coming from, but
Yeah.
for me, to be grounded in terms of
Yeah.
a device is I play guitar for about 20 years, and
Oh, cool.
that tool, I can feel myself literally emotionally turning around while I'm playing. If I'm having a bad day, if I'm
Yes.
angry, whatever it is. So that's my way of getting back to a place of being grounded, if that makes sense.
And that makes perfect sense because when I talk about that faith, family,
Hmm.
friends, and health, one of the big things for me when my mind is messy, I have a really messy mind. And I know that about me. I have a messy mind. It's running 400 miles a minute all the time. I'm literally carrying on multiple conversations at the same time. I really thought I was nuts. My therapist was like, "No, you just got one of those
Sure.
minds." But one of the things that really helps me focus is music. My dad was a musician. My grandmother was a music teacher. And I grew up playing flute. I wanted to learn how to play guitar, but yeah, that didn't quite happen. I don't think I'm coordinated
I
enough.
wanted to play
Although,
flute, so there you go.
yeah, I'm like, but if I could play flute, why can't I move my fingers like I need to for a guitar, right? Just the brain just didn't happen. But
But music,
that's exactly right. That
mhm.
grounding.
And music is meditative too. For people that
Yes.
don't, I don't meditate like I should. I've been trying to
Yeah.
do it, but I never can keep but that's very meditative for me.
Right. Yes. I can't either. But the good thing about that is, you know, that music is a form of meditation.
Absolutely.
It's a form of meditation, especially if you're playing it, right? Because like you said,
Right.
it's that connection of the hand,
Hmm.
right, to the
But it's,
instrument.
and also if it's a circular rhythm, you stay in
Yeah.
that one little rhythm and your
Yeah.
mind's there, you're on autopilot. It's a beautiful thing. That's one of the greatest gifts I've been given is
Yes.
absolutely.
I
Thank you,
love
Laura.
it. I love it. You're welcome. Thank you, Ron. Hi, Infinity. Thank you for coming to the show. Yeah, it's that connection to grounding, and I think that's a really important point that Ron brought up is I tend to think a lot. I have a real tendency and a need. I won't say a tendency. I have a need. It is a deep seated need to understand. That's one of the reasons I have so little tolerance for some of the stuff we have going on today. Just think, go get educated, go get different perspectives, go read a book, right? Go read a book and not just spout stuff just because you heard somebody else say it. That's just one of my pet peeves. And since this is my platform, I can say that. It just irritates me to no end. But I also know the other end of that spectrum is I have such a deep-seated need to understand that it kind of gets to Ron's point. I can be asking a lot of questions and get really heated about understanding. And the next thing you know, I've got everybody behind me who's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like, wait, no, I'm trying to understand. I'm not trying to create drama. But that also means finding something that can stop the spin, right? And that tactile thing can sometimes stop the spin. So for me, even when my mind is messy, I will physically say things like stop, stop. um and I need to have that physical manifestation of, okay, the brain is like whirling, just pause a minute, breathe, and then I can start again. So whatever your thing is, to be able to stop and short circuit the crazy, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do, and give yourself pause and the opportunity, and give yourself the self love to be able to pause and to acknowledge and to short circuit the nuttiness, because we all have it. We all have it. None of us is exempt for that. We all have it. It's just finding our thing that helps us stay aligned in the moment for what we need and what we want, and then to be able to move then to the next thing, to be able to pivot, to be able to, I hate that word pivot, to be able to shift, to be able to divert, to be able to flex, when we need to get out of kind of the death spiral of I couldn't, I shouldn't, I didn't, I don't know how to, yeah, that uh, the ventral vagal and the systemic and the dorsal vagal. I love that. So for those of you who are wondering, it's the polyvagal theory. So if you're one of those people that loves that kind of stuff, definitely look that up. It's the fight, flight, or freeze. Our nervous system and its responses. So finding that thing that grounds you, whether it's playing the guitar, playing an instrument, reading a physical book, something that actually, for lack of a better word, sets your feet. Really can help bring you back to where you want to be and where you need to be, so that you can move into who you are and how you want to show up. um, I am, let's see, it's 7:30. I would love to hear from a couple more people about alignment and what you do to get aligned. I also want to let you guys know that next week I'm really excited because talk about presence or power. Next week, I'm actually going to have a guest on the show. His name is Dr. Greg Williams. He is the president of Odessa College in Odessa, Texas, which is my hometown, the home of Friday Night Lights. And yes, that was real. And yes, that was my high school. And yeah, we can talk about that at some show too. Um, but he is going to be on the show next week and has done some incredible things talking about grounding, etc. So that's going to be a great show. Hi, Infinity. Come on up to the stage. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
I can. I'm doing great. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes.
I was approached to join Fireside months ago and I did, but I've been so busy. I've barely been on here, so I've been really guided to start coming on here and watching
Yes.
shows and develop my own shows and stuff. So I'm really
Great.
this is like the first day I've ever like done anything on here. Um,
Yay. I
and
feel
it's so
honored.
cool that you're having this wonderful how do you have what's your question, how do you align or how do you ground or
Yeah. So that whole
yeah,
idea of alignment, it kind of ties to, I was telling everybody my logo is a tree. And I did that on
love
purpose
it.
because I believe that, that grounding, that root system is where
Sure.
it starts. And then it's all about alignment from that, right?
Yeah, no, and God, trees are just the very best. I can just cry
Yes.
thinking about them. If it wasn't for my trees, I don't know.
Right.
But also, it's really ironic that you're having this conversation right now
Hmm.
because as we speak, I'm doing what one of the most important things I do to help myself to clear my energy.
Hmm.
I'm a generational shaman, mystic, distance
Awesome.
quantum healer, and evolution strategist and coach for my clients. And
Yes.
basically, I'm a fairy godmother to my clients. We reunite
Oh,
in
I
this
love that.
lifetime and, just do it again, at a higher
Hmm.
level because we're all awake this time, which is freaking amazing.
Hmm. Yes.
And one of the big things that I'm so, religious about without me being religious about anything
Right.
is is my baths. And so I'm currently coming
Ah.
to you from my bathtub.
Ah,
I take
I love it.
I take 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hour baths.
Wow.
I keep my water heater as hot as it can be so I can put more hot water and people go, what are you doing there this whole time? Well, I do meditate. I do connect with my
Yeah.
guides and guardians. I do connect to Mother Gaia, our beautiful earth.
Hmm.
But I, respond to emails from my clients and I watch videos and I do all sorts of stuff, but it just feels so freaking good to be in here. And water truly is the best thing. I saw an article recently about how great Epsom bath salts are for you from an ER
Yes.
doctor. I'm gonna,
Hmm.
I'm gonna piggyback on that and write an article. I did do a
Yes.
podcast about baths, and recently I was channeled this amazing recipe that I call my bath brew that I make
Ooh.
with all sorts of stuff on the stove and it's hot and warm and gooey with fruit and all sorts of good
Oh,
stuff
that
and
sounds so cool.
it it turned into a hair, face, and body mask that you dump in your bathtub too. And I swear to God, you
Ooh.
never want to leave. So if anybody's interested, I'm going to be writing an
Ooh.
article very, very soon. Follow me if you want it because I am
Yes.
like super excited because you know what? It's like just level up what you already do. Yeah, Epsom salt baths
Yeah.
are fantastic. Himalayan rock salt baths are fantastic. All that
Hmm.
stuff, but the hotter the water, the more natural essence and anything of Mother Earth that you can soak your body in and put on
Yeah.
your skin is going to elevate your frequency and extract negative energy. And that is how you
I
align.
love it.
Bottom line. Bottom
I
line.
love it. I love it. Yeah, that negative energy. There's a friend of mine, Alexis Thompson. And so if you guys haven't heard of her, she wrote the book, The Power of a Graceful Leader. She's incredible.
Mhm.
And she was just posting today talking about her alignment and making sure you keep negativity away because it absolutely, depending on who you're spending your energy on, it can absolutely impact your frequency, right? Where are you vibrating? How is your energy healed? And as an empath, I know it's hard for me. I absorb energy and while
Yeah.
I love dealing with my clients and I love working with people, there's a reason I limit my one-on-one.
Right.
because all of my
Absolutely.
energy is directed to that one person. When I can do a group, I can dispel it, right? When I speak to big crowds, I can dispel the energy. But that one-on-one, I love it because it's nice to have the impact and create the safe space for someone. But man, I'm usually just wiped after that
Mm.
because
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
all of me.
yeah, it's important to, shield yourself. I mean, I'm kind of an empath expert and guru, so that's like my thing is helping
Yes,
empaths like really align and integrate with exactly how energy works specifically for them. We
yes.
all have this universal thing as empaths. I'm an off the charts physical empath. So I'm
Hmm.
an actual medical medium. So I can literally feel in my body exactly what you feel in yours. So if it's a headache, a
Mm-hmm.
stomach ache, and a joint pain, I feel it most of my life. I was chronically ill. I was diagnosed with
Oh,
fibromyalgia when I was 25 because
oh my
nobody knew what the
gosh.
F was going
Yes.
on, and
Yep.
luckily divinely guided to figure it all out and go from chronically ill and disabled and completely like suicidal to now I heal other people and put and get them on a course to really
Yeah.
understand when we're exhausted, when we're energetically you know um overloaded, which most of the world is,
Yes.
because we haven't, I was ignorant up until 10 years ago about what energy is, how it absorbs in the body,
Yep.
how our five bodies work, not just the one. We have five bodies.
Hmm.
How are, at least the seven chakras within the body, but we have more than that are stationed outside of our physical
Right.
field. And all of that is a mechanism of energy mixed with water upon, we're like these massive batteries, and what is unseen is not understood by
Yeah.
99.999% of the population. Whether you're an empath or not,
Absolutely.
you feel it or not, we just have not been taught to know and to learn and to, take care of ourselves on that level.
Yeah.
So especially for empaths. And if you don't know if you're an empath or not, I implore you to go to my website, go to Empath Quiz, take the
Yeah.
quiz, and it'll help anybody, understand where you're at on that scale. And from there, you can have a better understanding of what to do for yourself. Because a
Yes.
lot of empaths think like, well, I'm just delicate and I'm just sensitive and I just have to retreat from the world and I just have to, like it's just me and I'm,
Yeah.
it's a very disempowering position. And when the
Yes.
fact of the matter is that we're superheroes as empaths, we have these extra abilities to feel, to understand, to be psychic, to be telepathic, to heal other people with our energy, as I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But for a lot of empaths, they still just understand 20 to 30% of their capacity
Yes.
for transmuting, for bringing in, for working with and alchemizing energy. And
Yes.
and you're limited if you're not clear energetically. And a lot of people think because I know about energy and because I sit under a tree and I do meditation that I'm clear. That
Yeah.
I'm
That's
clear
not
out,
it.
and that's not it. No, it needs
No.
to go deeper, and there's different
Yeah.
levels of that. But the
Yeah. You
practices that
have
we
to
have
do a show,
self care.
Infinity. You have to get your show going. It's time. It's time.
Sorry,
It's
I don't
time.
mean to take over yours, honey.
No, no, no. I mean, I'm sitting here
I'm
listening to
just
you. I'm like,
passionate.
you have got to do so this was your sign.
You're so funny.
This was
I
your
love you.
sign to come
Oh,
in
thanks,
and say,
honey.
you know what? Now I've been on it and you need there's so much you have to share. You have to do your show. I'll come.
Oh,
Send me an
thank you.
invite. I'm there.
Thank you. Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Yes, I am working on my launch strategy as we speak. I've
Good.
spoken with Jen. I'm integrating my
Yes.
podcast and my video and all that stuff.
Yes.
I'm the kind of person who likes it all like tight little bows before I,
Me too.
give it, you know what I mean?
So
Yeah.
here's the other thing for you, because as my HR person that I am,
Ah,
imperfect action is better than perfect inaction.
100%. I
As your
absolutely
type
do
A
that.
insecure overachiever. I'm just saying.
No, totally. But I just, I started with an amazing, iconic, coaching team,
Yeah.
headed by somebody named Catherine Porritt. And
Hmm.
if you consider yourself an icon in any way, I implore
Yeah.
everybody to check her out. And they're very strategic in how they
Awesome.
launch us. So I have handed over my soul to them
Yay.
to guide me because they're the best in the world. So we have a
Fantastic.
plan in place. Yes, trust me.
Good.
It's hard for them to hold me back more than anything.
Right.
They're like, hold on, Infinity, hold on. I'm like, all right. I'm like like a bull in a stall just wants to go. Trust
Well,
me. So, yeah.
I will be looking for you. I'll be looking for your show. Can you tell us what it's going to be called?
Well, my
Yet?
podcast is already called the Evolve Now podcast with
Okay.
Infinity. And so, it's just going to be an extension of that. My programs are
Awesome.
Evolve Now. Everything is Evolve Now. So that's just kind of my
Yay.
things.
Okay,
Let's
everybody,
not
y'all
hate.
listening? So follow, definitely follow Infinity, and I'll be following you after the show too, so I can make sure
Thank
that
you
I
so much.
get
And
all
thank
your
you
stuff.
for having me. I
Yeah,
really appreciate it. I thank you
absolutely.
for inviting me into your genius
Yeah,
and encouraging me. I think you're fantastic, even though I've just
thank
been in your
you.
presence for a minute. I love what you're doing and what you're talking about. It's really
Thank
important.
you. Thank
Really,
you
really
so
is.
much. I really
You're
appreciate that.
welcome.
I am having a blast. I love it. I love connecting with people. And
How
so
long
this
have
is
you been here?
I don't know, Jen, when did I start? It's just last month. So I launched last month with my Women's History Month. So I did
Oh,
a
very
month
cool.
of women's history. And in fact, Tisa that's in the audience, hey TC, she's in the audience, is was in two of them. And we have literally been friends since our mothers were pregnant. We were born 30 days apart.
Aw. Oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
Yeah. So
Oh,
we have been friends
congratulations on
forever.
that
Yeah.
soul
Thank
family.
you.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So she's my
Wow.
sister in more ways than one. So it's yeah. So
Yeah.
it's so just a month, and I love it. I love it. Highly encouraged. Keep it going. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
Awesome. Yeah,
You're gonna
I
love it.
already knew I would, and I'm excited to get started. So thank you again for the
Yes.
support and the
You're
encouragement. I really
welcome.
appreciate it.
You're
And I hope
welcome.
that we get to align again in the
Yes.
future.
We will. Well, we'll just make it happen. We're just gonna make that happen.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I am gonna
exactly.
follow you. So I'll get all the
Cool.
alerts too when you get going.
Okay,
Yay!
perfect.
Thank you,
Thank you, honey.
Infinity.
Okay, bye.
Bye. And Jenny, I thought I saw your mic come unmuted too.
I was really digging what Infinity was saying. I love that
Yep.
we could hear the bathwater in the background.
Yes. That was awesome. I love it.
My place like that is the woods. I feel like if I can take a
Ah.
walk in the woods, that makes a lot of things better
Mm-hmm.
for me, and it's a place where I feel in alignment. But I've noticed, as we get older, that things that bring me peace and make me feel aligned have changed. So I was wondering
Yes.
how that's come up for you over your lifetime, and are there certain times where you need to reevaluate
Yeah.
what feels in alignment for you?
I that's so interesting. God, Jenny, you ask such good questions, and I think one, not I think I know. The answer is yes. The thing about the grounding and the things that really are your root system, very rarely do those things change. Those things are so central to who you are. They very, very rarely change fundamentally, right? So, like for me, faith, family, friends, and health, right? They very rarely change fundamentally. Now, what's within those may change. So, from a health perspective, it shifts between, at one point it may be financial, one point it may be physical, those kind of things kind of morph, but it's still overall health. I think the challenge is what I found for me and for people that are in my village, for my clients that I work with, is the whole idea of alignment also has a really big piece of it that is about awareness. And that awareness enables you to say, okay, something's not quite working, something is shifting. What is it that's shifting and why is it shifting? And so that way I can make a determination, you know what? It's just because I need something different. I need something different right now. I need to not be going to this place, or I need to really be working out every day, or I need to make sure that every morning when I get up, the first thing I do is walk outside, look up at the trees, and take a deep breath, right? That's the thing that gets me grounded today. Or I really need music. So I encourage everyone who's listening, when we really talk about alignment, the a key piece of alignment is quiet, is real introspection, is compassion, being compassionate with yourself, and really listening. And when I say listen, I mean listen actively. That's what you see and what you hear and what you feel. That's what listening actively is, right? It's full circle listening. So don't be surprised, don't be afraid, don't be upset if what you need changes over time. Also, if you're looking at career transition, don't be upset that if it doesn't feel right, if you just need to sit a minute. That's the power of alignment. Sometimes we got to sit still. so we can make a plan. So then we can move so that we're not doing the same thing over again. It is all about being really clear in who you are and where you are so you can get clear on what you want. So then you can make a plan to move there so that you have the greatest success of getting there and have given yourself enough flexibility to know that nothing is a straight path. But as long as you're clear, you can determine whether that thing you're about to do is just a detour or if it's a complete derailer. And then you can make a decision what to do. So I really encourage all of you to just be compassionate with yourself and be honest with yourself and be okay with really knowing yourself because you are beautiful because you're you. My friend Holly says you don't have to be perfect to be priceless. You're priceless because you exist. And so sit in your genius, in your pricelessness, in the wonderful being that you are, because that's what makes you uniquely you and how you need to show up in the world because people need you. They need you as you are. So hopefully that answered the question.
Yes, more than. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's a passionate one for me. I'm like, just allow yourself to change. Hi, Mark. Welcome to the show. So glad to have you in the audience. And I think I saw, yep, Leslie. I saw Leslie come in. So thank you guys for joining. I'll just say again for those of you who are here next week, Dr. Greg Williams is going to be on my show here on Fireside. He is the president of Odessa College, which is a junior college, 2-year college, but also now has 4-year degrees. And the things that he has done when we really talk about presence, power, impact, right, a clarity of vision moving into empowered action. He is the epitome of all of that. And so I encourage you to come back next week and listen to him because he's going to be fantastic. He has such incredible vision, but not only an incredible vision, but an ability to draw people in and help people understand and get people aligned with that vision with compassion, right, and understanding and no judgment, and then really move it into action. The impact he has made on Odessa College and therefore on the community in Odessa is just beyond anything I think any one of us can imagine. Tisa can attest to that too. So I'm so excited to have him here. So I really would love to see you guys back next week. So as we get ready to wrap it up, because I always said I'd probably do like 45 minutes or so because I don't want to keep everybody for hours and hours and hours. Um, First, I want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming to my show here on Fireside, Alignment, Vision, Action by the Rutledge Perspective. It is always humbling and I'm always honored. I do not take this for granted because I know everyone has a choice and time is precious. It is not renewable. And the fact that you chose to spend your time with me tonight is an honor. And I am so appreciative of that. And I thank you for doing that. And I thank you for following and I thank you for tuning in and thank you for listening. And Woody, I have to give you a shout out because you're on every show and I really do appreciate you doing that. And I thank you for doing that all the time. The shows are going to continue to be, for right now, are going to be on Thursdays at 7. I may add some additional shows because I have some folks globally that this is just a hard time for them. So I may try to do some additional ones at some different times so we hit the global audience as well. But please feel free, follow me. I'm also on social media. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I'm not a big tweeter, but I do have a Twitter account, and you can find me just about everywhere at Laurel K Rutledge or the Rutledge Perspective, both of those on Instagram. So laurel.k.rutledge and the Rutledge Perspective on Instagram. You can find me and see my picture, then you know it's me, and on LinkedIn. And I would love to connect with you guys. I would love to get your feedback. What are some things you want to talk about in terms of this area of alignment, vision, and action? Because that's what we're going to be talking about. Career transition, leadership from the heart, all of this stuff under alignment, vision, action. Because whether or not you're building a business or you're building a career, it's all about your strategy and all about your people. And in order to have those clear, you got to be aligned. You got to understand where you're trying to go, and then you got to make sure you take action. So thank you all so much for being on the show. You can also follow me easily on laurelrutledge.com. That's my website. I am updating it, so please be kind as you go see my crazy website. It's beautiful. It's just not effective. So we're working on that right now so that it does everything that I need it to do. But you can find me there. I have a podcast, the Rutledge Perspective podcast, really short, sweet, 15 minutes. And then I'm on radio every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. You can find that on kcohradio.com. And that's live on Facebook as well. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Infinity, Ron, thank you guys for coming to the stage. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Jenny, for being the producer extraordinaire. And for all of you who have joined the show, I appreciate it. The replay will be going up. I will broadcast that. It's also simulcast on YouTube. And I will plan to see you guys next week, 7 o'clock Central Time, here on Fireside. Take care, everybody.